For 19 years, she thought she was her family's proudest moment. On her 20th birthday, she learned she was actually their most expensive mistake. Denise Kaya sat in the university cafeteria, staring at her laptop screen. The graphic design assignment was due in 3 hours, but her fingers wouldn't move. Around her, students laughed, complained about exams, planned weekend trips. Normal 20-year-old problems. She used to have those too, until 2 weeks ago, when she opened the wrong drawer. It was a Tuesday night. Her parents were at her aunt's house for dinner. Denise stayed home, claiming she had work. She did have work, her part-time job at the print shop, but she'd called in sick. The truth was, she needed silence. The kind of silence that let her think without her mother's worried glances or her father's forced cheerfulness. She was looking for printer paper in her father's study when she found the folder. Plain, brown, unremarkable except for one detail, it had her name on it. Not family documents or important papers. Just Denise. Her full name, written in her father's careful handwriting. Inside were bank statements. Dozens of them. Going back years. And every single one showed the same pattern: deposits into an account she didn't recognize, followed by transfers to various creditors. Medical bills. Credit cards. A mortgage payment on a house they didn't own anymore. Wait, stop. Let me back up. Because you need to understand what Denise's life looked like before that Tuesday. She was the quiet one. The good daughter. While her older brother Karam bounced from job to job, from girlfriend to girlfriend, from crisis to crisis, Denise simply existed in the background. She got good grades without being asked. She found a job at 16 without complaining about needing money. She chose a state university close to home instead of the art school in another city that had accepted her with a scholarship. Her parents called her mature. Her friends called her boring. Denise called herself nothing because she rarely thought about herself at all. There was always someone else's problem to manage, someone else's feelings to protect. But here's what nobody knew: Denise had been saving money since she was 16. Every lira from her part-time jobs, every birthday gift from relatives, every bit she didn't spend. She had a plan. At 22, after graduation, she would move to Istanbul. She would take an internship at a design studio she'd been following for years. She would live in a tiny apartment and eat instant noodles and finally be herself. The account had 63,000 lira in it. 4 years of work. 4 years of saying no to concerts, to clothes, to trips with friends. 4 years of being the responsible one. Except now, staring at these bank statements, Denise realized her account number looked familiar. Very familiar. She opened her banking app with shaking hands. The balance showed 11,000 lira. She checked her transaction history. Withdrawals. Dozens of them over the past 3 years. Small amounts, never more than 3,000 at once. Spread out just enough that she never noticed the pattern. The dates matched the statements in the folder. The amounts matched exactly. Someone had been stealing from her. Not a stranger. Not a hacker. The transactions were all legitimate, all properly processed, all showing her own digital signature. But that was impossible. She never made those transfers. She never approved them. She never even knew those accounts existed. Unless someone else had access to her banking credentials. Someone who knew her passwords, who could forge her signature, who knew exactly how much they could take without her noticing. Denise sat on the floor of her father's study until midnight, reading through every document in that folder. By the time she heard her parents' car in the driveway, she understood everything. Her father had been fired 3 years ago. Not laid off, fired. For falsifying expense reports. The company didn't press charges, but they didn't give him a reference either. He'd told everyone it was downsizing. He'd found another job within 2 months, he said. Lower pay, but stable. The truth? He didn't work anywhere. The new job was a lie. He left the house every morning, spent the day at the library or a cafe, and came home at exactly 5:30. Her mother knew. She'd found out within a month. They decided together not to tell the children, to protect them from the shame. But bills don't stop coming just because you've lost your job. The mortgage on their old house, the one they'd sold 2 years ago, and what they called downsizing? Foreclosure. Her mother's surgery last year, the one covered by insurance? Not covered at all. Karam's rent, which their parents still helped with. They'd been paying all of it. And Denise's university expenses, her books, her laptop, her materials for her design projects? All of it, every single lira, had come from her own savings. Without her knowledge. Without her permission. Her parents had access to her account because she'd added them as authorized users when she was 17, in case of emergencies. She never removed them. Why would she? They were her parents. They would never. But they did. 52,000 lira over 3 years. Her entire future, drained away in small, careful increments by the people she trusted most. Now, sitting in the cafeteria 2 weeks later, Denise still hadn't confronted them. Every night she went home, ate dinner with them, listened to her mother's stories about the neighbors, watched her father pretend to be tired from his imaginary job. And she said nothing. Why? That's what everyone asks. Why didn't she scream, cry, demand answers? Because she knew what would happen. Her father would cry, really cry, that ugly sobbing that made his whole body shake. Her mother would explain, would justify, would turn it into a story about sacrifice and family and doing what had to be done. Karam would probably get angry on her behalf but ultimately do nothing because Karam never did anything that required sustained effort. And Denise would be left with a choice: forgive them and lose herself, or cut them off and lose her family. So she started planning. Quietly. Carefully. The same way they'd stolen from her. She opened a new bank account at a different bank. She changed all her passwords. She transferred the remaining 11,000 lira where they couldn't touch it. She picked up extra shifts at the print shop. She stopped buying anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. And she started researching lawyers who handled financial exploitation cases. Even when the exploiter was your own family. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother: pick up bread on your way home? Your father wants to make sandwiches tonight. Denise stared at the message for a long moment. Then she typed back, Okay. Just okay. Not sure or I'll try or can't, I have work. Just okay. Because here's what Denise had learned in the past 2 weeks: sometimes the cruelest thing you can do is act normal. Let them think everything is fine. Let them believe they got away with it. And then, when they least expect it, when they're comfortable and careless, well, Denise wasn't sure what came next yet. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty: she was done being the quiet one. Done being the good daughter who never caused problems. They had taught her, after all, that family means taking what you need to survive. She just wondered if they would recognize that lesson when she used it against them.